In 2024, one of the Linux news topics I remember most was the government of Schleswig-Holstein switching to Linux and other open source products. Now, if you're not familiar with Schleswig-Holstein, it's actually the northernmost state of Germany, right there on the border of Denmark. Now, this all came back to me when I was reading a Linux Journal article about Denmark's government switching from Office 365 to LibreOffice. And the first thing I did as a Linux user is I searched through the article trying to see, I'm like, oh, did they actually switch to Linux? Did they actually switch to Linux? And unfortunately, they did not, which is actually a really big bummer. Schleswig-Holstein was not the first government to actually make the switch to Linux and or open source products. There's been many instances of it happening in previous years. This is B from Tay Talk Tech, and today I want to talk to you all about other instances of governments around the world switching to Linux in this episode of Linux Sundays. I would ask, if you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts down in the comment section below. And lastly, make sure to stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. Let's do this thing. Let's go ahead and get into those instances. Now, the first one that I want to just go ahead and finish up on is Denmark's situation. Now, they will be switching from Office 365 to LibreOffice. That migration has already started. Now, it has been reported again that they were switching all computers to Linux in a few different places, but that's actually not the case right now, as I alluded to in the intro to this video. Some municipalities, such as Copenhagen, the capital, and I'm looking at my script here, my notes, and Aarhus, are exploring transition away from Microsoft products to more free and open source products. This seems to be a common first step amongst those wanting to have free and open source software. In the intro, I also mentioned Schleswig-Holstein. Now, they are going to be switching completely away from Microsoft products, both to Linux on their desktops, as well as free and open source software. Now, when they're going to be switching to Linux, it's not really clear exactly which distribution they're going to currently be using. Most likely, it'll probably be one of like the big three, which is going to be either Ubuntu, maybe a derivative of Red Hat, or they could also be doing OpenSUSE Linux or OpenSUSE Linux. But I do know that they are going to be using the KDE desktop. Now, as far as software goes, they are going to be using LibreOffice as their Office suite, Thunderbird as their email client, Open Exchange for their email servers, and they're going to be using Nextcloud for their cloud integrations. That's actually something that I plan on doing for my own personal setup here in my studio and home lab. So make sure you subscribe for that. We don't currently know the specific timelines, but the transition is already said to be underway. Let's go ahead and talk about a successful case. So back in 2001, the Gendarme National, which is one of the two branches of France's national police force, they also have some military functions as well. They wanted to go ahead and start working towards introducing more free and open source software. Now, the first move that they made is they actually switched from Microsoft Office to OpenOffice, which we actually saw with Denmark recently. Now, the next thing that they did was in 2006, when Microsoft announced Windows Vista, they decided to move away from Windows, which honestly doesn't surprise me because a lot of people did not like Windows Vista. I liked using it. It was my first experience on Windows, but I had a modern laptop, so my experience was a little different than the average person's. Now, they also started at this time migrating users to Mozilla's Firefox as well as their Thunderbird email client. And if you weren't familiar, Mozilla is actually the one who develops the Thunderbird email client, which is, fun fact if you didn't know that. Now, in 2008, they actually set a goal to have 90% of the organization's computers running Ubuntu Linux by 2016. And at this time, they also had their inaugural release of their own in-house distribution, Genbuntu, which I thought was kind of a funny name. And it's the one that they still use to this day, which is pretty cool. Clearly, it's still based on Ubuntu, but I'm sure they've made lots of tweaks, because they're going on almost 20 years getting close to 20 years of being on, this product. Now, by 2011, they'd gotten all the way to 25,000 of roughly around 100,000 systems that were there at that time. They unfortunately did not meet the 2016 goal, but they did hit the 90% mark in June of 2019. And as of today, they're at 97%, which is not unsurprising because, a lot of these organizations have uses that require them to use other systems that run Windows and or Mac or something like that. So I would be completely shocked if it was at a complete 100%, just because we're talking about a police agency, and I just know that a lot of the software that a lot of organizations and companies use are Windows specific. So but yeah, and then this is really, really wild because as of right now, they have over 100,000 employees, which is a decent sized organization. Even as far as companies go here in the United States, that would be a lot of employees. So, all right, now let's go ahead and talk about a failed case of transitioning to Linux. Now, in 2004, the city of Munich, Germany, voted for an open source policy. They would be using Linux as their operating system and OpenOffice as their office suite, which is the same thing we saw with the Gendarme National with the French. They also developed their own custom version of Linux, which they called Linux, which I thought was pretty cute. It was originally based on Debian, and it used the KDE desktop, but eventually switched to Ubuntu in 2011, still using the KDE desktop. Now, migration started all the way back in 2006, almost 20 years ago. And by 2013, they had 15,000 of 18,000 desktops had made the migration. Now, though the transition had made significant progress, they allegedly received lots of reports of users that were unhappy. Now, one of the biggest complaints was in regards to document formatting, is there was documents going back and forth between different government departments, with other states, the federal government, stuff like that. And Germany actually had a national, policy that dictated that documents should be delivered in open format, but apparently humans gonna human, and that just nobody could get on board with that. And I get it, right? Human beings are wired to take the path of least resistance, especially when things are going to be familiar to us. We're definitely going to go that easy, lazy path because that's just how we are wired. Now, the man who led the charge from the beginning was Mayor Christian Ude. I think that's how you say it. But he did not run again in 2014, which would be the beginning of the end for Linux in Munich. Now, after the new mayor took office, rumors started that they would be returning to Windows, which was actually confirmed in 2017. These rumors turned out to be true, and a goal was set to be back on Windows by 2020. From the beginning, there was actually intrigue around the Munich deciding to go open source. Upon hearing the city was making that transition away from Microsoft products, Microsoft CEO at the time, Steve Ballmer, and Bill Gates himself actually met with Uday and tried to, sweet talk him into not making the transition. And allegedly, they offered to even give discounts up to 90% on the licensing for Microsoft products. Now, there was actually around that same time a study was brought up showing that the city would actually spend more money moving to Linux than staying with Microsoft, which actually was conducted by HP, not Microsoft. But it turns out that Microsoft was the one who actually funded the study, and it was never actually officially published anywhere, from my understanding. But yeah, it was out there, and I always think it's these episodes of intrigue these companies do with each other. It always just makes me laugh. So, but yeah, it was also around the time of the decision to transition back to Microsoft that all of a sudden now Microsoft's talking about moving their German headquarters back to Munich. So it's kind of like, what was the real reasons for you wanting to actually switch back? Was it the complaints? Was it the difficulty of implementation, the upkeep, or whatever, or was it just you guys got a pretty sweet deal from Microsoft to go back? There have been rumors since they made the transition away because they did this. Their goal was by 2020, and we're 5 years removed from that. That they would be moving back to open source software, but as of right now, as far as I know, Munich is still using Microsoft products. Though that news and experience with Munich was a little disappointing, there's still other there's still other movements happening to Linux throughout the world. Now, I wanted to go ahead and just kind of go over a couple of those briefly here. Now, in 2023, India's defense ministry replaced Windows with its own Ubuntu-based distro called Maya. Apparently, they developed it in like 6 months. So I'm just curious, like what that's been like, because that's a pretty quick development time frame. They use Ubuntu as the base, but even when you're trying to throw a new wrapper and other features and stuff on top of an existing distribution, that just there's that can leave a lot of room for error. So I'm really curious how that stepped up. Played out, especially because they did have a conflict earlier this year with Pakistan. So, just curious how their Linux systems stood up. And in response to a Russian government decree, just moving on to another country here, in October of 2010, it actually ordered federal authorities and any budget institutions to implement free software, which a Russian company, Rubitek, developed a version of Linux called Astra Linux, which is actually based on Debian. It would be awesome to be able to do an in-depth experience of a Russian distribution. I've always been fascinated by Russia as a country, and just their history and stuff like that. So I'm just curious, and I know that in recent years they've experienced a lot of sanctions and things like that, and so they haven't been able to utilize a lot of Western technology. And I know even Microsoft has pulled out of Russia, so I'm sure this is just really accelerated that timeline for the Russian government, all the different ministries and stuff like that. And it'd be really interesting to see like what all of that has been like, going all the way back to 2010 to all the way to the present. Now, one thing that is interesting though is because like a lot of these other countries, if you read the articles, they will cite like, hey, like we wanted to be more in control, we wanted to save money and this and that, but like Astra Linux, like they're basically kind of like a Red Hat for Russia. It's a company that Rubis Tech. They're the ones who developed it, and they're the ones who put out support plans and all that kind of stuff. So, just a different model. So that's a really just really interesting difference between what we kind of see here and with some of these European countries versus this further Eastern European country. Yeah, and then one of the last ones I did want to go ahead and share here is that NASA actually partnered with Red Hat, which is owned by IBM, to use their OpenStack platform to run test simulations of the Artemis 1 mission to the moon in 2022, which was basically like the Artemis 1 mission to the moon was basically like a test run for an actual trip, a manned trip to the moon. They use the same they use the same rockets. They tested the space capsule and all that stuff. It was a dry run for the Artemis mission, which was supposed to be, I think, last year in 2024 originally, but it's been postponed up until 2026 as of right now. So it's really, really cool. They just use that platform because it's pretty flexible to be able to run the simulations that they needed, prior to actually doing this. So, if they weren't able to run those simulations with probably thousands of, I would assume, or hundreds of thousands, millions, tons of different variables being processed, they may have had much different experience. And it's great to see that, the US government is, utilizing those services there. And the interesting thing would be is to see how much Linux there actually is in the government space within the United States. And that would be an interesting, but it would be a very long process to be able to fill that out. So, maybe that's something somebody could do one day. But yeah, when I started researching for this video, I was pleasantly surprised to see how many governments out there are embracing Linux in one way or another. Most governments and businesses are still primarily using Microsoft products, but maybe that'll change in the future. There's a lot of people that want to see some differences out there, and they want to take care of their own needs through their own companies and stuff like that. And businesses and enterprises and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting. Now, gaming has already seen a surge in Linux use in the desktop space because of the Valve Steam Deck, which is just a little handheld gaming console if you're not familiar. But maybe we'll see a similar thing in the future for the just basic operating system and office space. Linux still does have a long way to go before it could be a every person's uh, desktop experience. So, I really hope that one day we will be able to see that, or at least much more competition, because really only having, Mac OS and Windows, as the primary ones. Yeah, I know Android's out there, and the Chrome OS, which is now going to go back to Android. So it's nice to see competition out there in the space. So check out the previous episodes of Linux Sundays here. Check out this other video instead if you're already caught up on those episodes. Remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making. Thank you so much for watching my video, and have the greatest of days.